Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's project I chose because I wanted to challenge myself a little bit more based on the type of cuts and the variety of cuts that need to be made for this particular pattern. I also used a 1/2 inch plywood, don't know what kind because it's a piece of scrap that was given to me, versus the 1/4 inch that the pattern called for. Now this is a Steve Good pattern. There's more pieces to it, but I'm going to do something a little bit different with this for a project that I have in mind. So the 1/2 inch was what I needed to do it on. Last week's project I struggled because it was 1/4 inch plywood. I had chipping. I was just a mess. And it wasn't really a mess. It worked out well, but I was not happy with it. And the project before that, being the Tree of Life, I believe, that was a beautiful cut. Everything about that pattern, the piece of wood, everything was just wonderful for me. So, as a scroll saw newbie, just when I think I got it made, I'm challenged every time I start something new. And what I want to share, which most of the people that have done this for years and years and years, they know this. Not all woods are treated the same, even if they're the same wood. Not all blades are the same, even if you're buying the same blades that worked before. Everything's always new for each pattern and project that you cut. If you're doing a large quantity out of the exact same wood for multiple cuts, whether it's stack cutting, etc., you're not going to run into this too much. But because I'm doing a different project on a different type of wood every time I do one, I am running into that. So on this one, I wanted to use the spiral blade for all these little spots. And based on what happened last week, I thought it would be a great idea to put the contact paper on the back side so then I can mark the holes. It's easier to see when I'm changing the blade through each different one. Well, that did not work out well. The spiral blade was not fond of contact paper on the other side. So after breaking 3 or 4 blades just in a very short amount of time, I decided to take the contact paper off. I'll just deal with it, and that's just the way it is. So all in all, that sort of solved the problem. But then I realized my blade seemed to be getting longer and longer in the chuck head on top there every time I took it off. It occurred to me that the arm of my scroll saw was out of alignment. It was no longer parallel with the table. And when I checked it, it was 1/4 of an inch off, which then told me most likely, a lot of times the issues I was having with the spiral blades when I first started the cutting was because of that, not necessarily the contact paper. Because I did break a couple more blades before I realized that the arm was not perpendicular to the table. Parallel. Did I say perpendicular? I meant parallel. Anywho, I corrected that, and the rest of the spiral cuts were worry-free. I did end up replacing the blade one more time while I was still using the spiral blades, but that was just due to this type of wood, and let me explain to you why. This particular plywood was dulling my blades super fast, and I'm not sure why. Maybe the glue or how they were put together, I don't know. But I was not happy with that, but it is what it is, because the end result was wonderful. But that's just another one of those things I'm learning as I go. I thought when I got done with the Tree of Life project, in my mind I thought I had it made. I'm thinking, ooh, I got it going on now, and now I got, a handle on this scroll saw thing. And of course, I was reminded that it's a new thing, it's a new normal every time you start cutting. And because it's just a hobby for me, I'm not doing this every day, hours per day. As a rule, I do one project a week. Having said that, I don't get as much experience as that I normally would if I was doing this all the time. Now, doing one project a week means I'm only cutting for 1 or 2 days, maybe 3. Next week's pattern, I'm going to initially start with what I think or have experience with on blade versus the wood I'm using, and not force it. Try different blades, do what I need to do to get a good flow for the project. I think I was still caught up in, but this blade did well before this way, or that blade is the one they say you're supposed to use. I think you're supposed to use the blade that works for you, that cuts well, gives you the performance that you need. It doesn't matter what the chart says. If it works, do it. This is the point in the project where I use the ultra reverse blade. And I started out with one that was too small. And it wasn't too small in the sense that I wasn't able to use it properly. It was too small in the sense that this plywood, the blade wandered all over the place. I couldn't control that blade. Don't know why. All I knew is I needed a thicker blade, a heavier steel. So I went the next size up, and that resolved that issue. I was able to stay in control of the cuts. That was kind of an odd experience. That's never happened to me before. What I did notice though is on these ultra reverse blades, I had to replace the blades 3 times because they got dull fast. I know people use packing tape and other things to, they say, lubricate the blade. I'm still having a hard time with that concept. While I believe them and what your suggestions are with that, as you know, for you people that have been just doing this for years, I'm for some reason I'm fighting that. I guess I don't want to have to take that extra step to put packing tape all over my piece. Now, I know I spoke on this before, but for several months before I even thought about using a scroll saw or delving into this hobby, I watched a lot of videos on YouTube of people doing what I'm doing. You know, a little more glorified, a little more happy-go-lucky. That's not my style of YouTube, but the point being, it was always so easy. It was always so matter of fact. If you do this, this will happen. If you do that, that'll happen. And look how beautiful the piece is at the end. I was very discouraged when I finally dove into this, because all the things that I learned just by watching the videos was not the case as a brand new person at this hobby. And so the reason I did this channel, I had a channel, I had a lot of content on it, I moved it all off of here, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna do my videos on the real aspects of me learning. It's not the reality for everybody, but I want everyone to know, if you're new at this, there are going to be these challenges. It's not all as hunky-dory and glorified as it is on a lot of the videos that we see. I mean, these channels have been around for years. I'm not knocking what they do, but it's not realistic for somebody like me that's brand spanking new. I don't have the, I don't know, common sense or anything to reference to know or read between the lines of their videos. Yet a lot of the content that I did watch after 5 months is now making sense to me. I'm now able to utilize a lot of the things that I learned because I have some experience. Not a whole lot, but I have some. And I'm very grateful to my subscribers and viewers that have left comments with suggestions, things that I haven't thought of or hadn't seen on a YouTube video. And it's been such a blessing. Some of the things I tried, it's worked, but not on all applications. So again, every project is not the same. every piece of wood is not the same. Using the same blade because that's the one you like and you've always used it, it's not how it works. Believe me when I tell you, if you have a blade that you're fighting to make the cuts with, try something different. And then you're going to surprise yourself going, wow, that feels like butter, cutting through butter. I changed the blade out and this is now a pleasure to cut. I kind of didn't have that with this project because to me there was something not right with the wood. The wood was definitely a strange thing that I never experienced before. I'd also like to say to the new people out there, give yourself a break. It's not something that you're going to learn overnight. Understand that you're going to have challenges and hiccups in your projects. Choose simple ones. I chose some really complicated cuts when I first started because in my mind, I thought I could do it. Now, I was able to make those projects work, but there was only one that I set aside that I actually ruined beyond repair. But other than that, take on simpler projects, simpler cuts. Learn the things that they have all these, I don't know, charts that you can, or patterns that you can use to practice turns and stuff. I'm not that person to do that. I want to practice on something that I have something to show for it at the end. But that's me. It might work for some, but it doesn't work for me. Now, on this fish, a lot of times I see on the videos that they do all these cuts that I'm bypassing as they're going around. I'm not doing that. It doesn't work for me. And in this particular project, I needed it to look nice because I don't want to cut it again for the project I'm going to do. So I did it this way, and what that enabled me to do is to have extremely sharp points on the fins. It just worked out well. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but in this case, it did. I was actually extremely happy with how this turned out. I was surprised at how well it turned out. There was a little bit of chip out on the backside with the plywood, but nothing that was disturbing. The only downside of the spiral blades is I had sanding to do, but other than that, I was pretty excited with the outcome of this particular pattern and cut. Even though I had the challenges I had early on, it worked out well. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I'd appreciate it if you can give me a thumbs up, and I should have the finished project for this in my community tab in a week or two. Thank you for watching. God bless.